A very good day to you, and thanks for always joining us on this program, Parliament and Governance on Independent Television. My name is Evan Sunokugie. Today on this show, Parliament and Governance, we are going to be looking at what transpired recently at the Senate and of course the House of Representatives. All right, I have my two colleagues. I had Charity Tanko in the Senate and of course Victor Ogabi in the House of Representatives. Let's take a look.
Due to the worsening insecurity in the country, the Senate invited the service chiefs, the ministers of defense, the national security advisors, and other heads of security agencies for an interactive session. The major event that transpired on the floor of the Senate this week is the interactive session between the service chiefs, national security advisor, the Inspector General of Police, the Director General, National Intelligence Agency. The Minister of Finance was also invited, the Interior Minister. All were before the Nigerian Senate to deliberate on the best way to tackle the nation's security challenges. The Senate went into a closed session that lasted for hours. But before then, the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, apologized to the visitors for starting the session late, because actually the session was supposed to have started at 11 a.m. but it did not begin until at about 12 p.m.
The Senate, in a closed committee of the whole, received the following government officials: the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs and the Honorable Minister of State for Police Affairs, the Honorable Minister of Interior, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Honorable Minister of State Defense, the Honorable Minister of Defense, the National Security Advisor, the NSA, the Chief of Defense Staff, the CDS, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the Inspector General of Police, the IGP, the Director General of State Services, DSS, and the Chief of Defense Intelligence. The Senate listened to the comprehensive briefings by the National Security Advisor and briefings from the security chiefs on the state of the nation, particularly the state of security and insecurity, including reported issues of killings, kidnappings, and other criminal activities currently bedeviling the nation. The Senate then stressed the urgent need for the security agencies to adopt proper synergy in their operations to tackle the insecurity in the country. The Senate also went into specific cases reported by various constituents and also some reported through the social media. The Senate also recommended intelligence sharing among the security agencies. The Senate listened to the efforts of the security chiefs, particularly the serious improvement in their operations nationwide. The Senate was impressed that almost 90% of perpetrators of heinous crimes in the country, including the ones recently reported in Buhari, in Abuja, have been apprehended, and many of them are already in detention to face the wrath of the law. The Senate also listened to various efforts made in areas that suffered serious insecurities in Plateau State, in Benue State, in Taraba State, in Zamfara State, in Nasarawa State, also in Katsina State, Kaduna and other places, and also in Anambra State, and also listen to briefs from security agents and security chiefs on the efforts being made on those specific instances. The Senate was impressed with their determination and focus, but the Senate urges them to do more to ensure total security of lives and properties in the nation. Therefore, the Senate is of the view that the executive arm of government has been making a lot of efforts in the security sector through the procurement process of new equipment, including technology, to combat various insurgencies in the country. The Senate also pointed out that yes, appropriations have been made and releases made, but the Senate urges the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, who himself also gave briefing, to ensure immediate implementation and releases of all funds needed by security agencies in order to combat the insurgents, and also procure equipment to fight the insurgents and banditry in the nation to keep Nigeria safe. Thereafter, the security chiefs with the National Security Advisor answered questions from distinguished senators bordering on security, insurgency, terrorism, kidnapping, and other topical national security matters. The Senate thereafter commend Mr. President for his determination and focus on ensuring the security of lives and properties. The Senate also commended or commends the security chiefs for their efforts so far, and particularly our men and women in uniform and the leaders of various communities who, even in the face of difficulties, paid supreme sacrifice in order to ensure that they keep their various communities safe. The Senate is hopeful that the suggestions made to the security chiefs and the interactions so far will help to bring about a better Nigeria and a more secure nation, and urges them to go with all the suggestions made here and the revelations received here, use them as template for future actions. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the closed committee of the whole?
Yes. That will be all from the red chambers of the National Assembly. I am Charity Tanko.
In this edition of the program, we are looking at the federal government's effort towards empowering the solid minerals sector in order to diversify the economy. And what is the contributions of members of the Green Chamber towards the effort of the federal government in this direction? Welcome.
We know that when legislation is done correctly, it improves the sector, and it goes without saying that it can have detrimental effects if constructed wrongly. To be effective, the committee first consulted with industry experts, regulators, and relevant stakeholders to develop a legislative agenda. This agenda identifies key priority areas that must be addressed to improve the sector. The key priority areas for the committee include governance, economy industrialization, security, geoscientific data standardization, environment, and human capital development. These priority areas were identified by researching the sector's bottlenecks and focusing on using global and domestic data to understand gaps in the sector and legislation. As the key priority areas were identified, the common denominator between the various priorities was the need for better governance. Thus, the committee focused on the deep analysis of the legislative framework that regulated the sector. We also took a synopsis of the ministry's 7-point agenda, the interest of regulatory bodies and agencies in drafting legislation that addresses priority areas and was also implementable. The committee maintained that the principal act was developed using global best practices. However, our responsibility at the body was to reform it to meet the country's current realities and to nationalize it. You can see this in the establishment bill for Solid Mineral Development Company, which is one of the two bills that allocates 75% of the stakeholding in that company to the private sector, of which out of the 75%, 25% will be for the Nigerian public and will be held in trust by Ministry of Finance Incorporated, while 25, the last 25% block, will be for the Federation of Nigeria. Furthermore, the bill hopes to establish the authority, the Solid Minerals Development Authority, that will house the Solid Mineral Development Fund, whose core mandate, among others, will be to see to the effective gathering of marketable and investment geospatial data, which is the missing link to bringing in the required investments required in Nigeria, and to also serve as the body that will lead to inclusion in the sector.
And a lot of people may take it as just a mere statement. I have spent most of my life in the upstream sector before I went to the downstream sector in the oil and gas sector. I know Nigeria has roughly about 40 billion barrels of oil reserve. I know Nigeria has just about 200 trillion standard cubic feet of gas. That's it. So in fact, in the US, we used to say Nigeria is a gas country that has some oil. But come back and look at it. How many states, in reality, apart from now that we are having oil in large commercial quantity in some northern parts of the country? If you take that out, how many states in reality have oil? Solid minerals, every state of Nigeria has one kind of solid minerals or the other. So it is not a question of being parasite. It's not somebody taking something from somebody that they don't deserve. It's not everybody will be proud of it, and it will be part and parcel of everyone that we have solid minerals. Now looking back at the kinds of minerals that we have, which were the things that made Nigeria what Nigeria was from the beginning, when Nigeria couldn't do anything but tin in those days, to now a situation where you can go and find each one of these solid minerals in every state. So it will be the pride and the future. Now with oil, most of the debate has been, let's get away from fossil oil, fossil fuel. We're getting away from it. But with these minerals, and I will pick only one for instance, that is lithium that we are talking about today. Clean energy. The batteries that we need, electric cars, everything looking at lithium. And Nigeria having a huge quantity of lithium right now. Commercial quantity in not only Nasarawa, but in some other states. Where, I won't call any nationality, but people from other countries are the ones who are benefiting from it. Our people are just getting peanuts. One community in Nasarawa got some kind of compensation for a very small area, 700 million to a community. This is your home. they were so excited they got a lot of money, which was nothing compared to at the time when lithium was running for roughly about $76,000 per metric ton. It has come down now to less than 20,000. But that is because lithium has become more like oil. You know, issues come, they go up. Issues come, they come down. So I think, sir, the reason why I say I must come to this event, and I'm happy that you are having the relevant people here. If we are serious, very serious about the future of Nigeria, the future economic situation of Nigeria, we must reform what we call the solid mineral sector. And this reform must come in form of the policies, because I was looking at the document you have. You have so many policies that you are going to look at. So we must look at those policies and reform them where it has to benefit Nigerians. If we don't do that, we'll just be joking and then making, for example, you say so many governors, just like that Professor said. How many governors are showing interest in such matter? Of course, yes. I remember at NEC meeting one time, one of the governors said, when they give them license from the cadastral office in Abuja, they come to him, he takes away the license and say, okay, I will give you my own license before they can go and mine. You know, to a certain extent, that's an abuse of policy. But that is out of the frustration of not reforming the policies. So I know we all have events that we have to go. I can talk about solid minerals for the next 2 hours, you know, and I just want to indicate how important it is, and I want to commend Honorable Gaza, you know, for carrying out this event, and I want to commend you for being able to gather the kind of people that you are gathering.
While governments hold many of the labors to deal with the great challenge of our time, businesses, on the other hand, have the innovation, the technology, and the talent to deliver the solutions that we need. It is through this crucial partnership that we can unlock the true potential of Nigeria's mining sector, not just for economic growth, but for sustainable development and shared prosperity. Thus, I am convinced, very well so, that the governing philosophy of the mining sector in Nigeria should henceforth be approached with a private sector-led lens. Today I stand before you not only as Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, who represent a turning point for our nation's mineral wealth. I'm also convinced that Nigeria's vast mineral resources have remained largely untapped and undeservedly overshadowed by reliance on oil, which has been mentioned here over and over, and I'm glad it's a general consensus. Our solid mineral is better than our crude oil and gas. It is high time we started looking into that sector with the mindset of leveraging it for our development. Despite boasting over 40 commercially viable minerals, the mining sector contributes a mere 0.3% to our GDP. That's so poor. These, my friends, my colleagues, our invited guests, Mr. Governor, is unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. Our duty call today is to turn the tide. There are indications of a renewed vigor in our mining industry, fueled by a collective will to diversify our economy, create jobs, and unlock the immense potentials that lies beneath our soil. 2016 to 2025 mining industry development roadmap, aiming to increase the sector's GDP contribution 3% by 2025, is already showing progress. Projects like the Sejilola Gold project in Osun State, governed by a private sector-led lens, are injecting millions of dollars into our economy and attracting much needed investment.
All right, you saw Charity Tanko there at the Red Chambers, whereby the honorable senators had to, speak with the security chiefs in the country, talking about the security issues in the country. Then also, we also saw the House of Representatives, Victor Ogabi, looking at the need for us to diversify our economy. Well, to do our discussion today, we're so privileged to have Adonetiusa Igebo, a youth and of course a political public affairs analyst. You're welcome to this program, Parliament and Governance.
Good day, and thanks for having me.
Okay. All right, so the issue of insecurity in the country is, one thing that we've been talking about for quite some time now. Some say that since 2009, that's when Nigeria as a nation did not sleep again, as far as insecurity is concerned. From your point of view, which way do you think we can go? I mean, this is a new government now, the new government trying to find a lasting solution on how to finally, birth the struggle of insecurity in the country.
Well, thank you very much. I think the government, in my own view, is doing well towards the direction of having a bullet effect with regards the reactions from the previous challenges we have security-wise. For instance, when we had the Boko Haram problem at its peak, the government concentrated their efforts in that area, and evidently, I think they said the Boko Haram thing died down and transformed into the banditry activities. And the banditry activities were affecting areas like Bauchi, Katsina, Jigawa, Niger in particular, and Kaduna. Because those Kaduna states and other states around the middle belt, southwestern, northwestern Nigeria, were pretty much large states whereby bandits who were previously Boko Haram can find a way to relax and carry out their criminal activities. But I'm sure that with this new government coming on board, having surveyed and get deeper into their territory to make sure that the issues of coming together and striking at soft targets is a thing of the past. I believe that is why you notice the recent surge in insecurity and kidnapping around the outskirts of the Abuja, Gwadala and whatnot area, which I think the Minister of State working with the security services and the security chiefs has taken good care of, and lots of positive results has come out through that, whereby people are living in their homes, especially within the outskirts, because the military is taking on those people very harder in the forest. They are actually running away now and coming closer to town. But at the same time, they are striking in the outskirts while the FCT minister, working with the security services, after the spat of kidnapping and attacks on innocent Nigerians within the Abuja metropolis, efforts has been made, and I'm sure you see the results coming out. So,
well, if you say so, if we are so sure that the security architecture in Nigeria is so effective, one would have thought that these people will not come near metropolitan centers. Take for example what has been going on recently in Abuja.
Well, I wouldn't say that the architecture has been so effective. I am saying that the process of getting rid of the transformation from the Boko Haram sect into disbanding them and then transforming into bandits, whereby they attack people on highways and attack villages as soft targets. I believe and understand that the work that is ongoing with this new government is also from the reactions of things pushing them further towards those aspects. Because remember, Nigerian security architecture and the military's formations and the police, they are undermanned. They need more boots on ground to carry out this job, whilst they're also working on modern technology to find easier ways to track and target the movement of these bandits. At the same time, I'm sure you saw when there was a mistake the other time in Niger, when a civilian camp was bombed, they mistaken for bandits gathering, especially with kidnappers. So you will not see reactions from other very strange activities happening in Abuja if the military personnel and the security architecture was not actually delivering in getting rid of those criminals from the forest. So my point is that I believe a lot of work has been done. I can tell from the reactions of what is now happening around the outskirts, because not every time or very frequently you hear what the bandits are doing in those regions where there was, striking soft targets all the time, especially during the Buhari's regime, or even going back to the Goodluck Jonathan's regime. You can already tell that there is a shift in the tactics of what that is happening, and it takes the military or the security personnel in the country to adjust to these new challenges. Remember, you cannot really tell the difference between the kidnapper, a bandit, and a regular civilian when they met into the society. It takes time of information gathering, cooperation from the community. We may not be scared of reprisal. Should they be found out that they're giving information to the law enforcement to apprehend these criminal elements that are terrorizing these people. So I do believe that more needs to be done. I believe the issues of equipment, the use of drones, more effectiveness with regard to using the Air Force, the Navy, the DMI, the DSS, obviously working with the intelligence unit, with the military, is yielding results, but obviously it will take some time before the very complex situation that has transpired for many years now, and under this as Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu putting more effort into it. Obviously it will take some time before we finally find a kind of a balance whereby there will be no hiding place for the criminals in our land.
All right. So a while ago, you said that it appears that the bandits now they are changing their method of attacking. When you compare Buhari's regime and of course this regime of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, would you want to say that Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration is probably also changing its tactics, its method of attacking this bandit too?
Yes, I'm sure the only ways you can be effective in what you do is to learn from the previous past with regards the level of attacks on even the personnel themselves. The military sacrificed so much for this country, and the paramilitary personnel, the police, the DSS, the army, the Navy, the Air Force, they sacrificed so much in trying to deal with this menace that is befitting Nigeria because of our natural resources, something that I know has international connections, because those arms that are coming into this country will not come without being aided and abetted by foreign countries who were giving us freedom but never really left us. And they're choking us dry. When we breathe, they sniff in the air from being choked, and at the same time they come around portraying themselves as those who will save us from the dilemma that they kind of jointly create. But in a nutshell, I don't believe that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government and the approach is better than that of the President Muhammad Buhari.
Okay.
Because with the President Muhammad Buhari's instances, I've had opportunities to interface with people who live in Kaduna, especially when a lot of innocent people, women and children, was being slaughtered and kidnapped. The military in the claims was always getting information, but they were not getting the order to go in and clear the bandits. But because before they attack them, there's always an intelligence report. But in this case now, the same people that lives in those areas of Kaduna has attested to me that there's relatively peace in those areas.
What about Plateau State?
Yeah, well, with Plateau State, there are a lot of communal clashes. People has been hurt either way, either Christians versus Muslim, as the case may be. As much as we pray for the Nigerians to see themselves when we play a national football game, whereby everybody feels Nigerian, you can understand that these people that live in this plateau and those areas are having communal land dispute clashes with the different interests and beliefs. And for people who think that this is their farmland, and for people who think that this land was taken away from their forefathers and they needed to take it back. And that is a very difficult thing that government is dealing with. And I believe that should involve a lot more dialogue and finding a lasting solution by establishing bills or policies that will help elevate or educate those people who are involved in those issues, so that whatever that has happened in the past, where people lost their loved ones, they're not working on reprisals, you know what I mean, that is capable of reigniting the long-lasting issues that has happened between the innocents that were killed and driven out of their farms and those who think it is their land. So in the security problem, that is one that takes its own dimension. That also needs a lot of engagements community-wise to help solve this problem with obviously religious leaders as well.
All right, so the ability of the presidency to really have a handle on the security issues in the country has been quizzed many a time. I mean, some say that the president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. What that means is that he's in charge of, so to say. But a situation whereby we have security challenges here and there, and we find the presidency trying to summon service chiefs, security service chiefs and all that, like what we just saw a while ago at the Red Chambers, whereby security chiefs had to be quizzed and all that. So don't you think that the presidency is probably trying to avoid its responsibilities and trying to bring others into it? Don't you think so?
No, not necessarily. You know, most of the time, our people who are the innocent citizens, I guess, becomes victim of these barbaric and evil acts, are not privy to information that the government or the presidency might have. So sometimes it is unfair to blame them or apportion lack of understanding on their path as to what they are experiencing as citizens of this country, who deserve to live freely and peacefully within their community, being victims of this pains and agony that is being melted in them, not to speak up as much as they understand. On the other hand, the government and the security personnel and agencies' hands are tied because, you know, they can't really come up with every information because it may undermine the intelligence gathering that will help tactically pick up this kind of bad guys within the society, like into a guerrilla warfare. Because you can have a kingpin of a bandit leader living within a community, goes to constitute nuisance and assault people, comes back in after taking out his weapon, comes like a regular person. They are not marked, and it takes time to sometimes realize that these people are doing this. So these are some of the problems. For instance, when the Boko Haram thing was happening, a lot of people were reintegrated back into the society, over 1,000 plus, when they were already Islamized or maybe turned into some sort of bandit. They've used drugs, they've killed people, and then the idea of saying that they were reintroducing back into the society by the President Muhammad Buhari-led government is bad for this country. I just felt like they were insensitive, or maybe it's a deliberate thing, but I believe that anybody that is caught doing something that is not right and killing innocent Nigerians, whether you're Muslim, Christians, or non-believer, the law of the land should prevail on those people and be punished accordingly.
All right, so from your point of view now, when do you think that this whole issues about insecurity in the country, when do you think it's going to come to an end?
Well, the insecurity thing has improved a great deal.
Has improved?
Yes.
The insecurity
problem in Nigeria, especially that Kaduna axis.
The security has improved, or the insecurity has improved?
The insecurity problem, whereby people are getting attacked, has improved.
Really?
So, yes, I mean, I remember when we used to travel from Benin to Abuja, a lot of people get kidnapped and attacked on the road. For a very long time now, we've not heard such stories as such. The Suleja Kaduna Katsina road was a dead zone, was a very deadly area you don't try to commit through.
But did you hear of what happened in Ekiti State recently too?
Of course, you know, the Ekiti State issue will take you back to when the Sunday whole situation, whereby most of those insecurity matters more like a religious clash that is likened to insecurity matters.
Was that what happened in Ekiti State?
I mean, people were, I think I remember when people went to the church. People went to a worship center and gunned down people there.
Yeah, so that happened in Ondo State some years ago. We're talking about Ekiti State recently, whereby two notable traditional rulers were killed. I mean, would they have any incidents of any community clash, any incidents of religious clash?
Let me tell you one thing. People have a different ways at which they look at things that has happened to them or a particular group of community insecurity-wise. If you look at the southwest area of the whole formation of insecurity problems, it has a lot to do with issues of land and people coming in from outside to occupy lands and then go into the forest and people become victims.
That is where that come from outside.
A lot of the people that come in are people from the Nigerian Republic, people from Sub-Saharan Africa. They come in, you don't really know the likes and know them.
Yeah, but we don't have a situation unlike what we have in the north. Take for example in a Plateau state where you have maybe in the Kolfa North in Katsina, in Kaduna, where you have some cattle herdsmen and farmers fighting over land ownership and all that. But unlike in Southwest, we really don't have a land ownership issue.
No, in the Southwest, it is more, certainly when Sunday before was speaking that time, when he had a problem with the DSS, the issues of these people coming into this place to constitute nuisance or kill people and they should get out of their land, there was a simulation along that line. Do you see what I'm saying? And those instances is usually matters between the Yoruba nation, the Oduduwa, and those who comes in. Perhaps when something happens, they retaliate and say, well, they came in here, they're living in the bush, people are becoming victims, which led to the formation of the Amotekun. Since the formation of the Amotekun, which was a unifying security architecture within the Southwest zone, I can tell you that has done the nation a great deal of problem solution and resolution, because the Amotekun is very proactive. They are working under the authority and directive of the police RG, and they are able to kind of find a ground to work with the higher authority while they also carry out their job diligently. One of the things that was happening from the very beginning when they were setting them up and the issues of licensing these Amotekun guys to do their job was how would they work in synergy with the authority in Abuja. But I'm sure over time they've been able to find a common ground, and Amotekun has been doing a very good job.
Okay, now we understand that the need for us to have state police in the country, the bill has gone through the second reading at the National Assembly. Now, you talked about Amotekun. For a lot of persons, it's probably the right step in the right direction. The formation of some quasi-security organizations in the Southwest. We have Amotekun. In Edo State here, we have Edo State Vigilante Network and all that. Now, would you want to say that the establishment of state police can really wrestle this insecurity in the country?
You see, when we talk about the formation of state police, you don't need to mistake it for vigilante groups, Amotekun as a group, which is like when they say vigilante, it's more like community people volunteering to provide security for their people. That is completely different from what we're talking about when it comes to state police. The state policing thing is to decentralize power from the center, whereby the IG of police would give directive to the CP, and at the end of the day, without getting directive from the CP, you cannot actually act on security issues that is affecting your state.
Yeah, but what we are looking at is that the establishment of state police is going to entail that the personnel we are going to employ, they are going to be from the state. Now, what that means is that these personnel, they really understand and they know how the state is, the topography, the gray areas in states and all that. So if we have that situation, don't you think they may have a better handle on really securing their states?
Yeah, sorry, when you were speaking, I actually used the word no. I would have waited for you to learn before I respond back to what you're saying. The idea of the state police, I think, is a bit misunderstood here. I'm sure we will have opportunity to talk about it another time.
What do you think is the idea?
The idea of state police is a situation whereby the governor, who is the chief security officer of the state, has the authority to order the military to act as long as there is a security threat to the people that are within the state. Then whereby the governor of the state has the capacity to instruct the CP without taking directives from the center to act on major insecurity within the states. You remember or recall when the former governor of Kaduna State, Erufai, said that when these bandits are moving and when they're about to strike innocent people residing in these villages, they have the information. But by the time they speak to the GOCs to get approval from the chief of army staff or whatever, or defense staff, they don't get the approval, and in that note, the people comes, attack these people and run back into the bushes.
So if
the state police thing authority is established, the government can actually order the military. Yeah, we can actually order the army, the police. What I'm saying.
So wouldn't that in a way wrestle the insecurity?
No, but we were talking about the state police issue, maybe whereby the state can recruit the own police. No, it's just like the American states, whereby the FBI is the federal government police, just like this DSS in Nigeria. The IG remains in the center, but the different states has authority to an extent until when the investigation of a matter it seems deemed not to be done properly, and then the federal government can take over those matters. The federal government does have powers to take over any matter within the state, but the state will have authority to order and dispose of using the Nigerian police, the Nigerian MOPO, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian DSS or whatever, within the jurisdiction of the state as the governor to effect any actions that will help stabilize any security threat. The reason why the state police thing has been difficult for the federal government to approve, because it helps to decentralize power from the center, whereby you can have a commissioner of police by law is not answerable to the governor, maybe 60-65%, rather than being answerable to the presidency through the appointment of the police IG.
All right. So, but as we speak now, we understand that it's going through, reading. It has gone through second reading on the floor of the National Assembly. So perhaps it may be passed soon. So that will probably put a further step into the security issues in the country.
Yeah, it will help a good deal. But sometimes because we are humans, there's this fear about governors of states abusing those powers to use state police, because when they have more authority and they can order certain actions, they can as well do things to favor them in a very negative way. Because with all due respect, we are politicians. Some of these politicians who have this certain backgrounds and certain mindset can be in power, and they can decide to be very bad with the disposition.
Use the state police to their
advantage. To their advantage in a very negative way, because this is some of the major attributes of these politicians who does not understand that the minute you are called to duty to lead over your people, it's not necessarily a right. It's a privilege, and it's a privilege that they should use in a way whereby they write their names in stones and don't get emotional because the power is with you. I keep telling them, whenever you hold an office, it is transient. You can be there today, you are not there tomorrow. For example, the President Muhammad Buhari just left office. Today, a different man is in the office. I would, in my own opinion, as much as the National Assembly is doing their oversight function, it is their duty to call the service chiefs and oust them and get up to grasp as what they are doing, because they are there, they've given them what they want results. But there are improvements, and I believe they should be doing more so that Nigerians will feel comfortable and safe in their own land.
All right, the program is still Parliament and Governance on Independent Television. We also saw Victor Ogabi, my colleague in Abuja, at the Green Chambers, talking about the need for the Nigerian economy to be diversified. Now it was Igebo. This whole thing somehow is connected. Insecurity, the need for Nigeria's economy to be diversified. Some say that the attention on crude is too much. Perhaps that may be responsible for a lot of persons, trying to look at oil as one main source of income. So what is your response to, trying to diversify Nigeria's economy?
That idea of diversifying the Nigerian economy has been one big issue for so many years. And I'm sorry to say that I'm heavily disappointed in the approach of the subsequent governments, and I hope and pray that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government succeeds in this direction of setting a template, whereby when it talks about diversification, the next thing you see is the previous government under Muhammad Buhari pumping billions and billions of naira and dollars into agriculture. And at the same time, the food costs is not going down. So what they do as black people is they put money toward diversification and they talk about agro. And at the same time, they turn around and become so wicked and sell those products even more expensive than imported products. And at the same time, they are making 300 or 400 times profit in their own country. The price regulations are not there. And they want to pretend as if they don't know this is happening. And agriculture is part of diversification. We have natural minerals. In some aspect, when it comes to the idea of gold mining, for instance, and all these other precious minerals, the banditry thing has run into that area because they are having a lot of patronage from the Western world who are buying these products for very cheap, and at the same time channel illegal money back into the country to constantly fuel security so that the country will not be in control of their natural resources to help their people, irrespective of the fact that people in government most of the time are very corrupt. They earn this money and they steal most of the money, and at the end very little or no money comes back into the society, which is what we constantly stop that idea in common Nigerians, and especially those who are not educated to understand that there's hope for a better tomorrow. We have iron ore we have human capacity development, we have so many different minerals. Like, for instance, they said the Sambisa forest is not a place that cannot be condoned off. The Sambisa forest talk, according to Mustafa, who come up on TV most of the time and say things that most people don't understand because he's speaking from his own point of understanding, to talk about California. As a mineral, they have a Sambisa forest that is being aided by the, colonial masters. But I've never seen it, but from the way he speaks and the confidence he exhibits, I'm forced to believe that there could be something like that because the country is endowed and overly blessed with this mineral. Probably that is why we also have this challenge, these challenges. The diversification of this economy has a lot to do with infrastructural developments. For instance, in Edo State, we have the best iron ore. In Adamawa, in Yola, they have loads of iron ore minerals, gold sitting on beneath the earth.
Yeah,
what more than crude oil?
The
problem is diversifying them, because there's this attitude and attributes from those who are the high and mighty, the rich and the powerful, who does not want Nigeria to see the light of day. That whenever any president comes on board, like for example President Muhammad Buhari, and then now we have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has taken bold steps to get certain things done, so that you only diversify and succeed within a peaceful environment. You cannot go to the certain forests where we have lots of minerals and build train lines that can transport goods to the seaport when the bandits have occupied and taken over these places. Until people understand what makes a nation revolves around power, resource, and control. It means who owns power, the resources in the land, and who controls it. I think we still have a long way to go because of the way they've pushed our brothers and sisters to understand that. Because you cannot tell an angry man, a hungry man, not to be angry. In their own land, dating many years back, Nigeria was a nice place, even better than it is today.
Okay.
The more religious we go, the more the new government comes in, the more problems we have. Maybe we should just stop and look at the abnormal things. Somebody comes on board and says, look, subsidy is gone. You cannot pay out 2 trillion naira every month. And
let us not because so that we don't jump the issue here. Now, a while ago you were trying to talk about the natural resources that we have. Iron ore is very good in Edo State. We've got gold in Edo State.
Yes.
We've got timber. We've got so many other solid minerals. Now, if we are to look at Nigeria as a nation now, which of these minerals would you want to suggest that let us leave petroleum alone? Let us quickly turn over to these and make it a means of revenue?
Well, the means of revenue streams, the ones we can quickly jump on, still more towards the agro aspect. For example, cocoa.
Okay.
At the time, Nigeria was the highest exporter of cocoa. Cocoa is used to make chocolates and whatnot. And the Western world buys these things, which can attract foreign exchange. Yeah. So the cocoa industry should be revived again. We also have textile industry as well. This industry was deliberately destroyed. In the aspect of diversification, I think the diversification will happen simultaneously in many ways. Set up different bodies to encourage people to go into these businesses. It's about going into the businesses. But because the will is not there, because first you have to be a patriotic Nigerian. You cannot be a patriotic Nigerian when you cannot even afford to feed yourself. You cannot be a patriotic Nigerian when you see the so rich, super rich and the super poor living within the same society, and when you go online on social media, all you see is people flashing wealth. So this sort of aspect, on the social aspect, needs to be tackled to enable us to achieve aims and objectives, because most people now don't want to farm. They wouldn't even want to look at cocoa farm because they don't understand that with cocoa, if they produce it, they can export it and make more money, more than what they can do.
To the insecurity issues we are talking about.
But the insecurity issues is not everywhere. The insecurity issues is not everywhere. For example, for me, it is. Let me tell you, it's not everywhere. Sometimes it is not fair when we as people do not also appreciate the sacrifices that is being made by the personnel and government. They are trying to fix it. There are people within the country who are fifth columnists who are also fueling those problems.
Now, you don't think that those people, they are more than the government?
No, they are not. For the first time, you see a responsible government in the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government wanted to do the needful.
Now, perhaps you may want to agree with us on this program today that the greatest challenge that we have as a nation is this ownership, who should be in control of these natural resources, of these solid minerals? Now, if you come to there are some states that the state government on the money that most of these natural resources they are owned by the federal government. Take for example gold. All those natural resources are owned by the federal government, and the federal government controls them.
No, of course they have a database. If you go to NGSA, the Nigerian Geographical Agency, I have friends there, I have people who have been directors there. It is virgin. The solid minerals we have in this country is richer than the oil we have. I'm telling you, this country is blessed. From the north to the south to the east to the west, we are full of natural minerals. I'm telling you, in the northern block, they have so much deposits, as well as in the southern and the western block and the eastern block. Nigeria as a country is overly blessed. We are just harnessing oil. And even with all the leakages and the stealing, we're still surviving on that. We are looking at efficiency to an extent. It would be good if Nigeria is able to diversify and benefit from iron ore. There was a time a company from China reached out to me that they wanted iron ore from Nigeria. So what I did first was to do like a move around trip to look at the indices of being able to run such a business.
Or where the iron ore is fully deposited.
No, the iron ore is fully deposited almost everywhere. There are people mining in Yola, in Adamawa, all these places in Edo, in Gara. They have all this iron ore sitting on the ground, tons of it. But the means to transport them is using a train line, which we don't have, cargo trains. And you take maybe 100,000 metric ton in cargo trains, take it to the seaport, dump it into a vessel. But when I went to the DPRO, when I went to Warri Seaport, I went to Kuko Seaport, I realized that the seaports in the southwest, in the south-south, was practically grounded. The seas were not dredged enough, and you can't have bigger vessels come in. When you go to there, it was almost kind of privatized in a way, which is run by, I think, one of these Nigerians, and then the Port Harcourt seaport as well. You now realize that in the places where seaport can exist and taking of natural solid minerals can exist in its best form is to have the infrastructure. If you want to use road network, and I went to Julius Berger. Julius Berger, if they have to truck it, it's more expensive because there are lots of people on the roads in different communities who takes levies from those trucks. You see what I'm saying? But if the federal government was in charge, like in most Western world, and you use train lines that are protected, you can actually take 50,000 metric ton in one train.
That's what I said a while ago, that the greatest challenge now for trying to look at other means of, to diversify the Nigerian economy. If you cannot do these natural resources, the federal government is not really in charge.
No, they are in charge. The way to establish the access is the problem. When you need access, even if you're transporting through road, you must not do everything in a big scale. The request that was made from China was for $12 million a month, and I, as a representative here, makes $1 million every month. I could have afforded to employ both male and female just on the monetary team, 400-500 people at a good salary rate. You know what I mean? And at the end of the month, I'll probably see my home with 400K. You know what I mean? So the Nigerian state needs a situation whereby we have to gradually start reviving this industry again. We have to make our people understand, take the message to them that when you do these things, you will benefit. A lot of things are happening with diversification, but it's a bit secret because most people in the north are farmers, and they are rich farmers. They have access to loans. They produce all we eat. But in the south is a different mindset. But so there needs to be there needs to be kind of a way to close the gap, so that we can understand that there are opportunities from export, even seeds, different kind of amounts. All these things can actually bring in foreign direct investment. But the federal government needs to do more, working with states with sincerity to bring in the populace, the citizens, because it is the citizens that can actually help to diversify the economy. Even the federal government says they want to do it, if they don't have citizens to come and take those loans, you give them the enabling environment through states to cultivate and produce, they may not understand that those opportunities are there. Like in Edo State, there are most people we used to have in CBN who are representing Edo or the South-South. They don't even want to see a South-South border close to the CBN. You know what I'm saying? But in the Northern Bloc, and maybe in the Southwestern Bloc, they are borders keeper. They encourage their people to come and have access to these loans, trade with it and make turnover and pay back over a period of time. But over on this side, so the different diversification and the mindset of our people is so vast that sometimes it kind of takes them far away from understanding the information that is on ground. The federal government does make available funds to diversify the economy, but we need the people to be brought closer to the idea enough so that they can go into this business and then attract more foreign investment.
Okay, this is where we bet at the program today, Parliament and Governance on Independent Television. I want to say a very big thank you to you, Don Echis Igebo, for finding time to come on the show.
Thank you very
and
much.
Also to big thank you to my co-anchors, my colleagues right there in the Green Chambers in the House of Representatives, and also the Red Chambers in the Senate, Charity Tanko and Victor Ogabi. My name is Evan Sunokuge. On to same time and next week on the program, Parliament and Governance. Goodbye and God bless you.